The guest presented a painting accompanied by a letter given to her grandparents. It was a wedding gift presented to them in 1934 by the artist Winold Rice. The appraiser shared background details about Winold Rice, a German-born American artist and graphic designer.
He came to the United States in 1913 when he was 26 years old and brought with him a modernist sensibility and a very broad German accent. He had the immigrant experience, so he embraced the concept of otherness, and I think that drew him to people who were more in the margins of mainstream society.
The subject of the painting was a Native American woman named Agnes, whose indigenous name was Morning Star. A note on the back of the artwork described her as a woman of grace, beauty, and education. The appraiser remarked on Rice's sensitivity and empathy in his portrayal of Agnes, noting the respectful and dignified rendering of her likeness. Rice was a versatile and prolific artist, also working in interior design, furniture making, posters, and book illustration. The portrait was done in mixed media, gouache for the clothing and pastel for the face, on a Whatman drawing board, which was typical of Rice's work. What made this piece particularly valuable was its strong provenance, thanks to the dated letter from the artist.
Basically,
it's a little hard to read, but basically it just explains to them to enjoy Glacier Park this summer and congratulations on their wedding.
Given the condition, the auction value suggested was
pretty comfortable in giving it an estimate of $50,000 to $80,000.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
A notebook was presented, filled with letters from the renowned Wyeth family to the guest's aunt.
So after my aunt passed away, my mom got this big wooden trunk that was the original trunk that my grandfather came to Boston with. It was in our attic, filled with diaries and things like that, and my husband was cleaning things up and took a look in the trunk, and he found this.
It specifically included several handwritten letters by the famous American illustrator Newell Convers Wyeth.
He was lucky enough to be able to pursue his interest in art, and he was lucky enough to study with Howard Pyle.
The appraiser confirmed the importance of the collection, noting that these were not just letters from a celebrated figure in American art, but were also rich with personal and historical significance. The letters dated from 1901 to 1904, a period when Wyeth was emerging as a professional artist. One standout piece of correspondence included a drawing of a seated rider with detailed instructions on saddle placement, which he had sent to his cousins. The appraiser discussed a memorable letter written by Wyeth for his mentor, Howard Pyle.
So he wrote this really detailed letter about a special party they had for Pyle's, I think it was his 50th birthday, where they arranged that all the students would dress in costumes from some of the illustrations that...
The appraiser emphasized that these letters captured a pivotal point in N.C. Wyeth's life. These insights, combined with the fact that the letters were personal and unpublished, significantly enhanced their value. Altogether, the estimated auction value for the collection was...
For the group, it's not unreasonable to insure it for $80,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guest displayed a treasured family heirloom, a striking sapphire and diamond ring that had once belonged to her great-great-grandmother.
I don't think it was an engagement ring because I think back in those days, and she died in 1912, that they weren't given engagement rings. I have a portrait of her and she has her wedding ring on, but this ring is not there.
The appraiser identified the ring as an exquisite example of Edwardian jewelry, likely crafted around 1900. It featured a platinum setting with delicate milligrain detailing, tiny bead-like embellishments that caught the light, and centered a vibrant oval-cut sapphire. Flanked by two old European-cut diamonds, the ring's design and gem cuts perfectly aligned with the Edwardian style. The appraiser explained that the origin of a sapphire significantly impacted its value.
When we are appraising sapphires, we're most concerned and interested in their origin, so from where they were mined. At this period, most sapphires we see came from the Burmese region, so Myanmar, or Kashmir, which is the northernmost region of India. Kashmir sapphires are considered to be the most beautiful, perfect standard sapphire that you could have in a piece of jewelry.
These gems had been discovered after an 1880 landslide in the Kashmir region, and the mine produced sapphires for only 5 years, making them exceptionally rare. The appraisers suspected the ring's sapphire was likely from Kashmir, although only a specialized gemological lab could have confirmed that. Given the rarity, the estimated auction value was...
Okay, it kind of shocks me.
And if it is indeed a cashmere sapphire, which I feel pretty confident it is, at auction I think we're looking at somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's quite something.
A stunning Renaissance revival necklace and earring set had been showcased.
I got it 40 years ago from my ex-husband.
The appraiser identified the necklace as a Renaissance revival piece made of 18-karat gold, featuring finely executed enameling along with vivid cabochon peridots and rubies.
The Renaissance revival generally starts in the 1840s and ends in the early 20th century, but the sweet spot was 1850s through the 1890s. The style screams Italian Renaissance.
The rubies were Burmese in origin, proven by their intense fluorescence under ultraviolet light, a hallmark of high-quality stones. Though unsigned, the craftsmanship of the piece suggested it was made by Carlo Giuliano, a legendary 19th-century Italian jeweler known for his exceptional enamel work and attention to detail.
He's from Naples, born in 1831. He worked with Castellani in Naples or Rome, and then he was sent to London in 1860. He started hiring himself out, making jewelry and making designs for other very famous London jewelry houses. People with royal warrants for Queen Victoria, for example. Queen Victoria loved him. He opened his own store in 1874.
The appraiser noted that while Giuliano's sons continued the business until around 1910, the quality of the pieces diminished after his passing. Based on the design, materials, and craftsmanship, the appraiser dated the jewelry set to around 1890. Given its historical and monetary significance, the estimated retail value was...
Fair retail price is between $65,000 and $85,000.
Oh my goodness.
This extraordinary briefcase carried historical significance, as it had once belonged to John F. Kennedy.
And he frequented my uncle's cobbler shop on Beacon Hill in Boston when he was renting the apartment above, and came in for weekly shoe shines. And when he did that, he left this there, and no cell phones back then. My uncle couldn't get in touch with him. He came back for the next shoe shine, and my uncle tried to return it to him, and he said, "Oh, Charlie, I've already replaced it, just you keep it." And
the appraiser opened the briefcase and noted the internal compartments. In terms of provenance, the story was solid, with a clear chain of ownership within the guest's family and JFK's initials still visible on the case.
So I'm fairly comfortable with the provenance as it being John F. Kennedy's briefcase. Comparables, that's how we arrive at value for something like this. And it's not an exact science. It's not an easy thing to do, because you're going to find dramatic swings all over the market. But presidential memorabilia, especially things owned by presidents, is a hot collectible. It always has been, and I think it always will be.
The appraiser explained that JFK-related items are highly valuable, especially those he personally owned.
In '98, they did a special sale at a New York auction house with about 600 lots of items relating to JFK.
Given this context, and the fact that this particular briefcase predated Kennedy's presidency, the estimated auction value was...
Probably put an estimate somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000.
wow.
It's a great piece of American history.
The guest shared the story behind acquiring a striking poster titled "Attack on the Stagecoach."
My wife's dad found this in a barn, an old barn in New Hampshire, about 80 years ago.
The appraiser delved into the historical context of the piece, which featured Buffalo Bill, whose real name was William F. Cody. He was one of the most famous showmen in the world from the 1880s until around 1915.
And he was originally a plainsman. He was actually a frontiersman who'd be out on the plains. He was a buffalo hunter. That's where his name comes from. He fought in several battles during the Civil War. While he was a showman, his origins were 100% authentic. And in the years following the Civil War, the American East became very fascinated with the American West. And Buffalo Bill took that fascination and augmented on that fascination by putting together this show, Buffalo Bill's Wild West, which he began in 1883.
The poster depicted an imagined Wild West scene, Native American warriors attacking a stagecoach.
You see mounted Native Americans attacking the stagecoach, and as the Native Americans are attacking, as in all the classic sort of Western stories, the cavalry comes over the hill, led by Buffalo Bill himself with his signature goatee and on his white horse, coming to save the stagecoach from the Native American attack.
The coach was a legendary vehicle used for transporting mail and gold between frontier towns. The appraiser acknowledged that while the Wild West show promoted outdated and stereotypical portrayals of indigenous peoples, Buffalo Bill was, by the standards of his time, unusually respectful. This particular poster was produced by the esteemed A. Hohen and Company of Baltimore, a top lithographic printer in the U.S. Because there were no known auction records for this specific version of the poster, the appraiser considered it to be very rare. Taking into account its historical value, condition, and scarcity, the auction value suggested was...
So I would say that it counts as very rare. I think at auction today, a realistic price for this would be between $10,000 and $15,000.
Wow. Wow.
These portraits had been in the guest's family since the 1800s.
And I recently got them maybe 2 years ago from my grandfather. We were downsizing, and I kind of took over a lot of the larger family pieces like these.
They were painted by Charles Wilson Peale, one of the most prominent early American artists, known for his portraits of Revolutionary War figures and founding fathers.
This is my 6th great-grandfather, James Dara, and his wife, Elizabeth Bradford, and she is the granddaughter of William Bradford, the colonial printer in Philadelphia.
Fascinating.
The appraiser, after closely examining the works, confirmed that they appeared to be original to the early 1822nd and had remained in remarkably good condition. While the appraiser could not definitively confirm Peale's authorship without further research, he praised the exceptional quality of the paintings.
I think they're painted with great sensitivity. The quality of the work is rather extraordinary. Hands are extremely hard to paint, and these are beautifully painted. The detail in his collar and the ruffled area. She has very beautiful eyes, and the delicacy that's shown in the painting of the lace and her dress and the skin tones. All of these things are very difficult to achieve successfully.
Despite a generally soft market for portraiture, the appraiser believed these were an exception due to their craftsmanship, condition, and historical significance. In 1920, the family had estimated the painting's value at around $7,000. Today, the appraiser confidently valued the pair at auction to be around...
And as such, I would estimate the value of the pair of pictures for auction perhaps between $30,000 and $50,000.
Wow.
A guest brought in a trio of Native American items purchased about 10 years earlier from an antique dealer in Winter Park, Florida.
The dealer apparently didn't know anything about them. He told me that he had purchased them from a woman who claimed Native American ancestry on both sides.
The appraiser examined the 3 items, starting with the pipe bag, which he identified as Sioux from the Plains. This particular example was unusual due to its extensive beadwork, heavily beaded on both sides. The appraiser dated it to around 1880, placing it in the 4th quarter of the 19th century. The next item was an awl case from the Southern Plains, specifically attributed to the Comanche or Kiowa tribes.
And it's an awl case, which would contain the awl, which they would use in their making of their clothing and things like this.
Right.
The craftsmanship was noted as delicate, using very tiny Venetian glass beads along with longer tubular glass beads. The third and most valuable piece was identified as a strike, a light pouch, also from the Comanche Kiowa of the Southern Plains.
And as you probably know, a striker light is used to contain the steel and the flint to make fires.
The appraiser noted it dated to around 1860, making it a rare pre-reservation artifact and highly desirable among collectors.
Now the back is also quite interesting. This is commercial leather. It's oak tanned. It's probably from saddle leather, some kind. And this design is classical Comanche design here.
All 3 items were stitched with sinew, which was historically used for its strength and authenticity. Given the historical significance, the appraised value determined for each item was...
So I'd say probably 3,500 to 4,000.
Okay.
That's a retail price.
Yeah.
This, which is a real favorite of mine, which is so sweet, they don't make a lot, probably $800 to $1,000. I think on a good day, they could easily do maybe 1,500 because it is so delicate and so sweet, and it's all there.
Yeah.
This, of course, is the real beauty on here. And these quite often don't do that much. But this, I'd be quite comfortable in valuing it at probably 6,000 to 8,000.
No kidding. That's terrific.
The guest presented a beautifully preserved French perfume bottle, a cherished family heirloom that had been passed down through 3 generations.
I really don't know much except that it's been in the family for 3 generations, and it's one of those items that you don't display publicly in your house every day, and yet you treasure.
Have you used it?
No, never. I don't want to open it because I believe it's old, and I don't want the fragrance to escape.
Upon examination, the appraiser identified the bottle as a French piece made of 18-karat gold, dating back to before 1840. It had been created by the prestigious House of Janisset, a Parisian jeweler active during the early 1800s.
He hired a very well-known maker, Feliz, who later became very well-known and very important on his own. And he worked there at this time. Now, in 1848, the revolution came, and Janisset had to close the shop. So we know this is prior to 1840.
The appraiser also highlighted the materials and design details of the bottle. While the guest believed the entire decoration consisted of turquoise, the appraiser clarified that the top featured French blue enamel, not stone.
I have my suspicions that it is. And the material, it's either just glass or rock crystal. Very hard to tell. We'd have to do some extensive studying on it.
Decorative elements and structural features, such as the stopper and the eagle's head hallmark, further emphasized the bottle's authenticity and origin. Due to its age, exquisite craftsmanship, and use of high-quality materials, the appraiser valued the bottle at approximately...
Would be around $15,000.
Oh.
The guest shared a touching story about a family inheritance.
My brother received a phone call from a lawyer, and the lawyer said our half-sister Phyllis had passed and left her estate to my brother, my sister, and myself. She lived in Sedona, Arizona. So I was the one that went to Arizona and went to the house, and then I went into the bedroom, and on her side table was this lamp.
The item presented was a Tiffany Studios poppy cone lamp, a highly collectible and iconic design. The specific model was referred to as the 20-inch poppy cone, first introduced in Tiffany's 1906 catalog.
The poppy was a very popular design, and it did come in a number of different sizes and shapes.
The shade and base of the lamp were believed to be original to each other, despite their slightly different catalog dates. The appraiser explained that while the poppy shade had been available since 1906, the specific gilded base seen here did not appear in Tiffany catalogs until 1910 and 1913. Despite the presence of some modern socket replacements, the appraiser confirmed that the lamp retained most of its original components. The beautiful inherited treasure had an estimated auction value of
An auction estimate of $70,000 to $90,000 on this lamp.
Very nice.
A guest brought in a beautiful tapestry gifted to her by her grandmother in 1989, a piece wrapped in both family legacy and mystery.
She was raised by Ogden Mills, Secretary of Treasury, and she had extended family Vanderbilts and Livingstons, and so lots of fancy people. So we don't know if this was in her fancy family.
The appraiser identified the object as a large-scale schoolgirl pictorial embroidery, American, and dated it to around 1740.
A sampler is basically the first thing that a young girl would have done. 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And the sampler is what we think about as sort of ABC, the 1, 2, 3 things. And when she basically graduated, she'd have gotten harder things to do. She might have been 16 to 19 years old or so.
This embroidery was described as being visually centered around a fruit tree, with a mythical, exotic landscape depicted in silk floss and wool on a natural linen background. The silk floss, notable for being untwisted and shiny, gave the piece an added brilliance.
We look at the overall appeal. Is there a visual appeal to this? And I think everybody is going to say absolutely. It is well balanced. The colors are balanced, the left to the right. The pinks are scattered all over, the blues are scattered. There is enough space between the elements. It's wonderfully anchored at the bottom by this beautiful scenery. It is charming beyond belief.
Despite its age, about 280 years, the tapestry remained in extraordinary condition, with its vibrant colors remarkably well preserved, which was quite rare. Such embroideries were more than just works of art, as they served as status symbols. Although the creator was unknown, the craftsmanship suggested it had been made under the guidance of a highly skilled embroidery teacher. The conservative auction value estimated for the piece was...
I believe that a very conservative auction estimate would be $50,000 to $75,000.
Oh my. I was going to say like maybe $5,000, so...
You have to bring a little bit more money for that.
So.
Yeah.
The guest brought in a cherished winter landscape painting that had hung above his family's fireplace since his childhood.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it came down from my grandfather. And I don't know where he found it.
The appraiser identified the artist as Walter Launt Palmer, a renowned American painter particularly famous for his luminous, atmospheric winter scenes. Palmer had trained in Paris, where he absorbed influences from the Impressionists, and worked at the prestigious 10th Street studio in New York, a hub for avant-garde artists. The painting, in oil on canvas, likely dates to the 1900s or 1910s, during the height of Palmer's career.
It's a nice size for the artist. He became so well known for this subject, this atmospheric, luminous winter subject, that he was regarded as sort of the American painter of...
The appraiser noted some issues that affected the painting's value. The frame was a later replacement, and at some point, the artwork had been overcleaned. Despite this, the piece still held significant worth. The appraiser gave a current auction estimate of...
As it is, a reasonable auction estimate for this painting would be $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow, that's great.
A guest presented a large Apache basket with deep family roots and emotional resonance.
This was in my grandmother's house outside of Boston, and when she died and we were breaking the house up, my dad said, remember the Indian basket under the stairs? She acquired it from her mother, my great-grandmother.
The appraiser identified the piece as an Apache olla, a term derived from the Spanish word for jar.
So the Apaches use this for grain storage.
Wow.
This is a masterwork by the Apache of the American Southwest.
The basket was likely created between 1890 and 1900, aligning with both the family's history and the period when the Apache were producing such functional yet highly decorative pieces. This olla was described as a masterwork, showcasing the exceptional skill of Apache weavers in achieving symmetry, form, and geometric decoration. The basket featured stylized figures, suspected to represent a dog, along with human figures and decorative geometric patterns. Despite being a bit dusty, the basket remained in remarkable condition. The appraiser cautioned that such pieces were fragile at the rim and should only be carried from the base to prevent damage. In a sophisticated auction setting, the appraiser revealed the basket could sell for...
Well, if this was to come to auction on a sophisticated marketplace, it would sell for about $15,000 to $18,000.
Wow.